Triple XL live mullet off the beach. Look at that beauty. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. Today I'm down at the beach and I've got some really big live mullet that I'm going to chuck out. Only something massive could grab that. And I have a few beach worms as well. And while I'm going through this session, I'll just explain to you what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, show you my gear, and it should be really exciting. Stick around to the end for a free PDF download which will outline some vital keys from today's session. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It really helps my channel and I do appreciate it so much. Let's get into it. Can you catch really big fish off the beach? And what's it like to use big live baits? Well, in this video, I'll answer that question and I'll show you what I'm doing, especially with these really big mullet. It's a bit of a challenge because they're so big, but I reckon if something takes it, it's going to be amazing. And I'm at a different beach today. I'm always mixing it up. The conditions aren't too bad. The ocean, the swells drop down a little bit. I've got a little bit of a deep patch behind me and my plan is to get my live bait out there. Also, I've got some fresh beach worms in here, so I'll be able to put my big live baits out, and while I'm waiting for something to take that, I can fish for bread and butter species with my beach worms, which is what I'm going to do now. It's just a little early to put the big live baits out yet. My aerator has run out of battery power, so every so often I need to refresh the water in my bucket to keep the mullet alive, and they are beasts. I'll show you the really big mullet, these guys. I went down to the lake to catch some mullet and I was only catching mullet, like that's at least 30 centimetres. It's a big mullet, so nothing small is going to take that bait. But it's worth having a go. I'll tell you what, it'd be exciting if I hook up something really big on that. And I'm here at the right time of the day. So first of all though, I'm going to have a little fish with my beach worms. The water looks pretty good out there. I've got a 2-hook rig. I've just got a long shank hook on the bottom, a long shank hook on the top. So I use 2 worm baits. I can feel my line's a little bit frayed near my bottom hook. I think I'm going to have to retie this leader. I don't want to risk losing a decent fish with substandard lines, so I'm just going to do that now, I think. So I've just put on a new leader. I've put on a 16-pound fluorocarbon. My main line's 15-pound, but I've got a couple of spools of fluorocarbon. One's 14-pound and one's 16-pound. They're a pretty good strength, I think, for most things off the beach. You can catch salmon, brim whiting, trevally, a whole range of fish. You can land on that breaking strain. It's not too heavy and the brim and the whiting still bite fairly freely on it. I did a video recently on things that you should not do and mistakes that cost people a lot of fish. And one of those is not dealing with frayed line, which I just did. Because when your line is weakened, you go to all this effort and you can potentially lose a good fish because you're using substandard line. So it's certainly important to replace your line if it is frayed. So I'm going to whack on a beach worm bait here. I'm going to put the hook right in his mouth and thread him up onto the line. So my hook's in the center of the worm, and then I'm pulling the worm actually up over the end of the hook onto the line, so it's quite a long worm bait like that, and I'll get another bait out of this worm. Be interesting to see what's lurking out there. The water looks pretty good. It'll fill up as the tide comes in. High tide is in about 2 hours from now. So the tide is 2/3 of the way in. You should be able to see behind me the water I've got here. There's a little bit of a deep patch. Not a massively big, deep hole, but certainly deep enough for the big fish to come into, so I'm hoping that that's what they do as the afternoon progresses. When you learn to catch your own beach worms, you can afford to be generous with them. They're quite expensive. I went into a shop the other day, and for one 30-centimetre worm it was $9, just for a tiny little worm in a packet, so they're just getting more and more expensive. But they are an amazing bait. And if you'd like to learn how to catch them, I've got an amazing masterclass that I've created which is really detailed, and you can find out all about that on my website. Heaps of people are benefiting from it and learning how to catch beach worms. I mean, that's why I put all the effort into making it and making it as clear as possible, because it's not easy to catch beachworms and you really need good instruction to be able to master it. I find that when I give people one-on-one lessons beachworming, on average it takes about 2 hours for someone to catch their first beachworm. I'm talking about using your fingers, not pliers. It's a little quicker with pliers, but it takes a while for people to actually get it. I think there'll be a little bit of sideways drift out here. The waves are not huge. We're going to get wet now. The waves are not huge, and there's some quite good lulls in between. I'm just going to flick it straight out. Yeah, that landed in that nice deep trough. As the tide comes in, it'll be a little bit harder to reach that zone because I won't be able to walk down as far. Actually, I can feel my line drifting a little bit to the right now. But it drags just a little bit light. There's a bit of current there. Yeah, I think I'm getting a bite. Something's going on. It's like my line's coming towards me again. Thought I could feel some action then. There is a bit of water movement out there, but I really like to be able to feel there's a definite movement from a fish before I lean into it to set the hook. I didn't quite feel that, even though I felt a bit of a bang on my line. I'm looking at that deep water and the current out there, and I'm just wondering how those big live baits are going to go in the current. Hopefully the current diminishes a little bit as the tide comes in. But today, because of the size of the live bait that I've got, I'm actually going to be using a slide baiting setup. So I haven't done a lot of slide baiting before, but it's a good way of getting a big bait out the back, and you let the live bait do all the work to get out there, because you just can't cast a really big, you can't cast a really big bait very far. That might not have been a bite before. I think I might wind my line in and check my bait and toss it out again. See if I get a bite this time. I may well. I think I landed in a good area. When there's no waves breaking, you can see there's a nice little trough out there, but then when the waves come in, it stirs it all up. One thing that I've learned when you come down to the beach and you've chosen a spot, it looks like a nice gutter, bit of depth of water, is to actually cast your line, try different parts of the gutter. Try right up into the corner, try to the left, to the right, try casting your line right out in the middle of the gutter. I had an example where I was fishing yesterday and casting in a particular part of this deep water. I had 3 or 4 casts without bites, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to do that. I walked about 50 metres down from where I was and cast into a different spot, and I got a double hook up straight away. So I've got my line out here now. I haven't really had a bite. So I'm going to mix it up and cast in a few different places until I locate where the fish are. I'm not just going to stand here and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait forever. I would rather look around and find where the fish are, and then when I locate them, I'll keep casting in that particular spot. It's been a little bit quiet to start off with. I haven't really had a discernible bite. Haven't hooked a fish yet. I've had a line in the water for maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Some lovely fresh beach worms. Haven't had a bite yet, but that's okay. Now, what I think I might do now is I might get my live baiting line ready and show you the setup. So I actually better just check that my mullet are still alive first. They probably need a little bit more water. So it's going to show you my slide baiting setup. You can buy these. I bought this particular, it's called a no return slide bait, which means that the live bait can only travel in one direction. Your line goes through these coils here, and when the fish swims along, it moves out like this, but if the fish turns around, it goes like that, and it basically puts a kink in your line, and it won't go back up in that direction. So the fish can really only swim straight ahead, where it'll pull it along like that. If it turns around and it goes down like that, so it's called a no return. So the fish is going to the land of no return. It's swimming out there to where all the big creatures are. So what you do with this, I'll show you when I put it on. You basically just have that ready for when you put your live bait on, you hook it on your main line. But first of all, you chuck your line out with your big sinker. Once it's out in position, then you hook your slide bait on and take him down to the water's edge and let him swim out. So I'll just show you the rest of the rig. It comes with a large ring. So what happens is when the fish is swimming out, I'll just hold it, it'll get to a point where this comes down and it'll bump up against there and it'll stop. So you have this ring, it comes with this particular piece, and then below that you have a moderate sized leader to a reasonably heavy sinker. This sinker could probably be a little heavier. It's a mid-range, it's about a size 4-star sinker. So what I do is I am going to just chuck that out as far as I can out into the deep water. Then I'll hook up my mullet on the slider and feed him out. So I'm going to go and chuck that line out now so that I'm ready to go. I found a slightly larger star sinker in my bag, so I'm going to put it on because I think it'll be better. So I've upgraded my star sinker to a bigger one. It'll be interesting to see how far it goes just tossing the sinker by itself. Should be able to get right out in the middle of that deep section out there, I think. I'll still pinch a bit of ground by walking out a bit. Just wait for this wave to draw back and I'll toss it right out the middle. Comes a bit of a set out the back. Certainly went a long way. Yeah, I went plenty far enough out, so that'll be ready to put my mullet on. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to grab one of these mullet and whack him on the slider. This guy, even though he's big, he's got a little bit of life. But oh God, you can look, even that size hook. I mean, gosh, it's just the hook seems a little small. I could hook him through the mouth. I guess it's one way of doing it. Just have to think about that for a sec, because the fish, most fish like to swallow fish head first. When they take them, big fish, they always swallow them head first because they go down their gut without. If they swallowed them backwards, then the fins would get stuck in their throat. I think I might pin him through the back, down fairly low towards the back of the fish, like that. Because at least if he swallows him head first, he's still going to get the hook on him. So let's take him down. Got to get him in the water before he loses too much oxygen. I might actually give him a little bit of a revive before I put him on the line. Just going to let him have a little swim here for a minute. Just let him revive a little bit. Yeah, he's got a little bit of energy, so that's good. He's swimming. Because he's got a little bit of work to do to get out the back. All right, I think it's time to whack him on the line. Just need to grab my line. Where is it? It's too high up. I'm going to get that. Get the end of my line. Just put that back in the rod holder. Then, what I need to do is get my line inside that clip, wind it around several times until it's through like that, and then hook that clip back over. Beautiful. So he's actually ready to go. Now I'm going to actually aid him by holding my line up so that he's got to swim downhill. Once he gets out into slightly deeper water, it'll be better for him. Okay, so he's moving out in the right direction. Just got to be gentle with them and let them get out into the zone. He's only gone about 15 metres at this point. But he'll probably get more strength as he gets revived. One of my concerns when I came down to this particular spot is that I could see that there was a reasonably strong sideways drift. And in casting out a big bait or having a large live bait out there, my concern was that it would be swept down the beach a bit. I'm using a large star sinker that I got out a really long way, but even the star sinker by itself, I could feel moving a bit in the current. Now, the mullet, I can't see the mullet now. He's moved out a fair way and my line is on a bit of an angle. It's not actually straight out, but I still think it's far enough out that that mullet will get out beyond the break and into the deeper water. However, evaluating the situation, I think in these particular conditions, I'd be much better off using a grapnel sinker, which is one of those large sinkers which has the metal legs on it because they dig into the sand. Ideally, I'd like to fish the sort of spot where I've got a beautiful deep gutter straight in front of me that either goes straight out to sea or I've got a parallel bank in front of me and there's really very little water movement. I think that would be ideal if I can do that, but when you've got to deal with currents, in this particular situation, I think I would definitely need a grapnel sinker. I'm going to leave that mullet out there because I still think he's gone far enough out into the deep water, it's worth leaving him out there and I still may hook onto something. But it's just a learning curve. I haven't done much fishing, slide baiting. I've never really used a grapnel sinker before, but I think it's something I need to incorporate into my method. So hopefully that mullet, you know, he gains a bit of strength and gets revived being out in that lovely fresh water, gets out beyond the breakers and something big like a mulloway, that's obviously the desired catch, latches onto it. Oh, it feels like a brim actually. I think it's a brim. Hey mate. This feels like a brim. It's my first bite. Oops. Pulled a little bit harder then. But at least I got a bite, which is awesome. Yeah, definitely not a salmon. It's fighting more like a brim. Actually, I think it might be two brim. It's pulling pretty hard. Wow. Look at this. Wow, how is that? Have I got a salmon and a brim? I think I've got a salmon and a brim. Look at that. A brim on the top hook. That was weird because it started fighting near the shore. I'm thinking, man, I could feel the knocking of a brim, but then it's just pulling too hard. So, okay, wow. Well, I'm glad I got a bite because I've had beautiful fresh worm baits out there for about 40 minutes and I didn't have a bite. And then the first actual bite I get two fish. So they must be moving into the gutter as the sun's going down. So I'm going to let this salmon go. Just wait for a little bit of water to come up. There you go, Mr. Salmon. You have a swim. They go so fast when you let them go like that. And I actually think I'll let this brim go as well because he's barely legal. Just legal. Oops. Flick some sand in my mouth. I'll let him go too. So anyway, I'll let them both go. I'm thinking I'm wanting to reposition my mullet bait because it's just that time right now. The tide's come in a little bit and I think I'd like to chuck that sinker out in a slightly different spot and send the mullet back out again. So I'm not going to chuck that line out, otherwise it might get in the way. I'll have another fish with that once I've brought this in. It's going to be a little bit of an effort to bring it in because it's a big mullet that's out there on the end of this. That mullet, obviously, he found his way all the way out the back, which is awesome. I'm really happy with that. I could tell that he was all the way out there, but I need to chuck my line out again. I'm going to go and put him in the bucket momentarily, and then I'm going to send him for another swim. I'm amazed that this mullet actually made it all the way out through the break. I've just repositioned my sinker. I'm going to put him back out there again. Make sure that he's all right. Get this down so I can get the end of the line. That was a little effort actually. I actually had the no return slide bait around the wrong way. I was wondering why it wasn't going on properly. And you've got to do it really quickly before the mullet actually loses energy and potentially dies. So I've got the mullet out there, he's still alive. He'll need to revive a little bit to get some strength to swim out. But anyway, he's on his way. So while he's getting acclimatised and swimming out, I'm going to grab my other rod and chuck it out with another worm bait. I can feel a bite, I can feel something going on. It's coming towards me, yep, there goes a couple of whack whack. What's going on? I think I'm going to have to wind my line in, it's coming towards me a lot. Yeah, that's it. Woo! I'm on. So this is on my beach worm bait. Actually it's pulling a little bit of line now. I'm going to walk over to the left because my big bait's out over there and I don't want to actually get caught near my other line, so I'm walking away from it. I want to direct this fish away from my other line. Oh, I just trod on a little fish then. Now, I had 2 fish on last time. We'll see if I've got 1 or 2 this time. Feels like a salmon. Here it comes with this wave. There you go. So, oh no, there's 2 fish, look at that. So what have I got? Is that 2 salmon? There you go, it is 2 fish. 2 salmon. So 2 casts in a row, double hook up both times. I just caught another salmon, which I'm going to keep, but I think the tide's made a big difference because I got no bites hardly for about an hour, but we're really close to high tide right now. And every single time I chuck my line in the water, I'm hooking fish now, so that's just an interesting thing to note. I have our live mullet out there on the slide bait. It's been a good exercise. I'm actually quite impressed with it. I've made a couple of schoolboy errors because I'm kind of new to slide baiting. I actually had it round the wrong way before, so when I went to put it on, I was in a hurry to get it out because I didn't want the mullet to die. But I had it facing the wrong way and I'm thinking, what's going on? Why isn't it working? Then I go, duh, I need to turn around, have it facing the right way, and then it just went straight on and it was perfect. And the mullet could go out. But I'm pretty excited because I intend to be doing a lot more of this fishing throughout heading into summer. I'm going to be fishing with big live baits off the beach more often. I'm going to kind of incorporate it into what I'm doing and I'll take you guys along the way for the journey. And I reckon I'm going to catch some pretty awesome fish over the coming months off the beach. Undoubtedly, I expect to catch multiple big mulloway, not just one. Because when you specialise, you get results. And I know in the past when I've focused on catching mulloway, I've done well. But it's one of those things, you've actually got to decide the species that you want to catch and then fine-tune things for that particular species. So I think I'll do that because it's going to be a bit of fun. So I'm sure that it'll be exciting and we'll learn a few things along the way and I'll be able to share all of that with you. So at the moment I've got a double worm bait out and I have a live mullet and it's currently about half an hour from high tide and it's fully dark obviously as well. So we'll just see what happens in the next little while. I got one. I didn't even feel a bite then. I just started to wind. I thought I might wind my line in and check it and then all of a sudden whack. So what is it? Have I got another salmon or is it something different? I don't think it feels like a salmon. It's not really behaving like a salmon. So what is it? Oh, it's a flippin' stingray. That's what it is. That's not very exciting. It's gonna grab him. It's a safe way to grab stingrays. Just put your thumb in there and your finger in there like that. you can hold on to them pretty tight, and the nasty end is at the other end. Then I can get the hook out. He hasn't swallowed it, so that's good. One of these days I will, if I catch a couple of that are a little bit bigger than that, I'll actually cook them up and we can do a bit of a test. I'll give you a report. A few people reckon they're quite good to eat, but this little fella's going back. Yep, oh, okay. That was a solid bite then. It may be another salmon, but maybe not. But it whacked it pretty hard. So this is turning out to be a pretty fun session. And it's been great practicing the slide bait setup. So very beneficial. If you want to learn anything, you just got to get into it and have a go. Hang on, this fish is coming up here somewhere. Yeah, it's just another salmon. So how is he hooked? It really is great to see such healthy numbers of Australian salmon. Really, really good. They're just in absolute abundance. And not just here, but in Sydney as well. If you'd like a free PDF download of some vital keys from today's session, hit the link in the corner or in the description below. Well, I've really enjoyed this session. It's been great just getting used to using the slide baiting gear. Quite a few fish for the table, but I'd be interested to know, have any of you guys done any slide baiting? Have you got any tips, any experience? Can you share it with me in the comments? I'd really appreciate that. Thanks so much for watching.